Hello and welcome back here. In this video, what we're going to be doing is converting this deep red color right here to white. And again, this deep color is Classic Burgundy by Benjamin Moore. And we're going to convert it to cloud white here. So again, we have the floors covered in the X-board, and the X-board is made by Trimaco. Okay, so it's important to always cover the floors here. I have my paint in the roller tray. It's already set up here. We're going to be using this primer right here. It's the Benjamin Moore Fresh Start, and I have this tinted towards cloud white. And again, cloud white is a difficult color to get. It's one of the whites that has a slight yellow undertone to it, and we all know that the yellows don't cover great. So this is a great primer. It's a premium primer that Benjamin Moore sells. It covers and hides great here. So this is the paint or the primer that we're going to use to tackle this job right here. The roller that I'm going to be using is the Benjamin Moore, their Aura roller, and again, this is a 1/2-inch nap here. Now, whenever you're going over a deep, dark red base, you want to apply a lot of paint, but you don't want to apply so much that it starts to sag. So I prefer to use a 1/2-inch versus a 3/8 here, because you want to lay the paint on thicker so it covers. And this roller right here does an excellent job at doing that. You can see what it looks like and how it's tapered on both of the sides here. Okay. And this isn't like too thick and stuff like that. Some of the 1/2-inch naps, they're really rough, and but this lays the paint on nice and thick and smooth and level, and you won't get the spatter. It will spatter just a little bit, but you're not going to get the spatter like some of the other rollers that you can get. And these rollers are probably like $5 or $6, so it's definitely worth the money to spend on a quality roller, especially when trying to tackle a job like this here. And again, the brush I'm going to be using is a Corona 1.5-inch Chinex bristle brush here. Okay. So, and I have my cloud white paint in my handy paint pail here. Okay. So, now going over a red, especially if you're converting it to white, it's very difficult to achieve. So what we're going to be doing is I'm gonna roll out the whole wall in the cloud white for one coat of the primer. Then I'm gonna roll out a second coat of primer just on the top half, and then we'll convert over to the top coat of the cloud white, and we'll be able to see how efficient it is to prime twice versus priming once, especially with the color red here. Now, if you're converting the red to another color, like a gray, then you don't want to prime white, you want to prime gray. Or if you're going with some other coat, like a beige or something like that, you'd want to tint that primer towards the desired top coat. You can never really go wrong with gray. Priming gray over this, like a light gray, if your top coat color is light too, you can prime this a light gray, then switch over. But we're going to be using a white primer, okay? And the red it's a tough color because it's always going to shine through, and if you don't seal it off right away, it'll constantly bleed through your top coats here. Red almost peers through a white more than like a black, so it's very important to use a premium primer in doing this to alleviate yourself from doing multiple top coats with the red always shining through here. So we're gonna get started here. I'm gonna cut in against I'm gonna load up the brush first. I tap it in like that, you can see, and then I hit it once and twice to rid just a little bit of the paint. You don't want to tap it in and then scrape the paint off the sides, okay? Because now you're not going to have a lot of paint to put to the wall. So I tap it, I dip it in, and I tap it gently to either side, and that's going to still leave a lot of paint on the brush. And then I'm going to transfer the paint to the wall, okay, and then angle the brush to move the paint up to the ceiling here. Okay, so just come down like that, come back. That delivers or transfers the paint to the wall. Now I have paint to work with here. Okay, so I'll come into it and just come close there, and I'll work it back up. Get to the corner there, I'll turn it. Okay, so you can see that it's on right there. Okay, then I'll reload up the brush here and work it into the corner here. And I'm gonna slowly bring this across here. I'm not applying a lot of pressure to the brush here. I'm trying to lay the paint on, and by doing, and a good way to do that is to leave your knuckles, have the brush like this, not like this when you pull across, because if you pull across like this, it'll take away the paint. So lay the brush down almost parallel to it with a little bit of pressure to leave the paint on there, okay? And you can see what a great job that just did in just one coat right there. So in the corners, we're just gonna overlap onto the wall here. And you wanna always go back into what you did right there, okay? And just clean that up there. So that takes care of that there. Again, I'm going to dip the paint in, tap it to either side there, and you can see it like that there. Okay, so once it's like that, I'll load up again and drop the paint down, and then come up and feather off that side and feather off the wall right there. Okay, so just to show you right here, if I don't lay my knuckles flat and I do this here, you can see how it pulls the paint away there. So again, I'm gonna load up and bring this down to the bottom and lay my knuckles down to leave the paint there. With a little bit of pressure. If you apply too much of the pressure, again, it's gonna take away the paint. With the corner here, it's kind of tight because I have my back up against the wall, but I want the camera to see here. Okay, so we have the paint there. Now I'm going to add some more paint there to the brush. Okay, and work it into the corner. And just slowly go across the surface to leave as much paint on there as possible. Okay, so you can see how well that covered there. There's a spot right there, so I'll reload up, start from the bottom, and slowly go up. Okay, so that looks better there. Now down at the bottom, it's kind of showing through, so I kind of got rid of that there. So I'll put the great thing about this bucket here, there's a magnet right here. So I just put the brush right there and it sticks. Okay, so the roller, I got my 1/2 inch Aura roller here. It's all loaded up here. And again, we don't want to transfer this way up here with all the paint. We're going to come down here and transfer it, and then come up with it. And when you roll, just apply a little bit of pressure, okay? I'm gonna reload up again. And start in the middle, slowly come into the corner. Now again, you wanna roll as close to the corner as possible here. And when we come to the top, I'll turn my roller and come as close to the ceiling as I can there, okay? Let's start down here, bring this down. Come close as I can to the corner. Okay, now I'm just gonna load up just a little bit of paint and do the whole wall now. Up. Up. Okay. So this is the first coat of the Benjamin Moore Fresh Start primer that again is tinted towards the cloud white. We're going to give this a few hours to dry out. And that's very important too. You want to give it at least a few hours to dry out, because if you don't and you go back into it, it could start to pull off. So it's very important that you allow the primer to dry out completely, okay, before applying the next coat. So I'll show you a close-up of this, how it looks when it's wet, and then I'll show you to you how it looks when it's dry in a few hours, and I'll see you on the next one. So until then. Hello and welcome back here. We've given the wall approximately 4 hours to dry out. It is dried out here. So again, it's very important to give the wall at least 3 to 4 hours to dry out when recoating with the primer, because you want the primer to dry out. You don't want it to be tacky, and you don't want it to actually pull it off again. So it's very important to let it dry out completely here. Now, I usually sand in between coats, but with this, you don't really want to sand because you're on top of the red right here and you don't want to pull that off. So we'll sand after I do the second coat, but there's really no need for sanding because the paint is strained out and there's no clumps and stuff like that in it. But if there was, then I would wait till after the second coat to sand here, okay? But again, the sanding is minimal, and again, the job of the primer here is to cover the red, okay? So I'm gonna cut in half the wall and reprime the top half of it. and then we'll just go from there. So I loaded up the brush here. We'll come up here. Now, on the second coat here, you want to make sure that this covers here, okay? Because you're taking the time to do 2 coats of the primer here, and you really want to make sure that, especially where you cut in, it covers, because we need to block, we need to cancel the red here. So make sure that when you cut in, you putting it on very not so thick, but enough so that it covers up the red, or not really the red anymore, but it looks gray now. Okay, so I think I did a pretty good job there. So we cut in half the wall there, and as you can see, it's whiter along the edges there. So I'll attach this to the magnet and put this down here. And while in the past 4 hours, I put a plastic bag on top of the roller so that the roller and the paint won't start to dry in the paint pan here. So again, we'll apply it in the middle of the wall here and go up, and yeah, you can really see how much better it covers with the second coat here. I want to come as close to the wall as possible in the edges there. Let's get a cut top and roll as close to the ceiling. Okay, so it takes care of that there. We'll feather out the bottom here and go up, come down, up, come down. Takes care of that there. So as you can see there, the second coat of the Fresh Start primer tinted towards the cloud white really did a great job at making the surface come completely white here. Now I'll put this. I really want you to see in the corners how well that the Fresh Start really covers up that red, especially on the second coat there. Okay, we'll go into the middle and really try to show you the surface here. Okay, we'll come down the wall here. And now this is where it starts to transition to just the first coat of the primer. So you can see how much the white primer covers the first coat of primer. And we'll just come down to the part that we already primed a few hours ago. This is the middle. Try to focus more on that, so you can see the red has turned gray in like the middle there. Okay, so we'll just let this second coat of primer dry out completely again. We'll give it probably another 3 or 4 hours, or even try to tackle it tomorrow. So we'll see you on the next one. Okay, so we've given the second coat of the primer overnight to dry out here. And as you can see, when I get real close to the corners, you can see that the white has completely covered over the red. And now we'll come down here to where the line is. You can see 2 coats of primer versus 1 coat over the red. So you can see that line. So you guys can see how 1 coat covers versus 2. here, you can see all the what appear to be gray specks now. That's really red. Hello and welcome back here. We've given this wall overnight to dry out here. Okay, so we did the 2 coats of the fresh start, and it was tinted towards the cloud white, and you can see where the line is down here. So from here up, it covered great. From here down, not so good, but it still did a great job in covering up the red in just 1 coat. But you can see how you have to do 2 coats of the fresh start to completely cancel out the red, and I think that I did a great job here. So we're just gonna give this a light sand. There's not much to sand here because I strain out the primer and paint before use. So we'll just give this a light dust right here. Okay, and now we're going to be top coating this complete wall right here with the Aura, and this is the eggshell, and again the color is cloud white. Okay, and again this is a tough color to get because it has a yellow undertone to it, and the yellows don't cover so good. So it's always important to start with the primer first when dealing with the cloud white, because the cloud white just won't cover that great on its own, especially on the top of a lot of the colors here. So again, this is the Aura, and this is an eggshell sheen, and I'm just going to apply 1 coat on this whole wall right here, and we're going to see how the 1 coat does on top of 2 coats of primer versus 1 coat of primer. So we'll put this down here, and again, I'm using the Aura roller sleeves here, and this is a 1/2 inch nap, okay? And this is what the roller, again, what it looks like and how the edges are tapered off and whatnot. And again, I'm going to be cutting in with my 1.5" Corona Chinex bristle brush here, okay? So I already have my paint in here, and I'm just gonna load up and tap it to either side, okay? And come up here and start to cut in here. Across now, using just a little bit of pressure there. Now I'm just going to come across again like that, and in the corners here we're just going to overlap right onto the wall. Down. And I'm trying to put this on as thick as possible here, but without being so thick that it runs. And now we're coming down here to where the line was, where the 1 coat versus 2 coat meet. Bottom here. Okay, so I'm happy with that there. Okay, and once again, I'm just going to stick this to the inside of the magnet, and I have my roller tray all set up here. Again, this is a 1/2 inch nap. I'm going to place this in the middle of the wall to get rid of a lot of the paint. to the corner here, I'll flip the roller around and get as close to the corner as possible here. Okay, I'll come up to the top. And again, turn the roller to the side and get as close to the ceiling as possible. And come down here and get as close to the baseboard as possible. And then just lay the paint off. Okay, so we'll give this an hour or so to dry out and be back to see the results. So we'll see you on the next one. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours since we applied the top coat of the Cloud White and the Benjamin Moore Aura eggshell here. So we're just gonna bring the camera up to the wall here. You can see up top. And we put the top coat on top of 2 coats of the primer here. We'll check out the corners. The corners look great here. Now we're gonna come down to the area where we had just put 1 coat of primer on. The line was somewhere around here. Now I know it's hard to see because it's white, but I'm gonna try to get as close as to the corners as possible here. You can see that it did a good job. You can definitely tell down here near the baseboard where I cut in versus I rolled. That could use another coat. And in the corners, there's a little bit, but it's hard for the camera to see because it's white here. So to fix that, I think that you need to do a second top coat of the Aura eggshell to get a completely uniform coverage. Hello and welcome back here. We've given the wall a few hours to dry out here. And as you can see, the top part of the wall where we did 2 coats of the Cloud White primer by Benjamin Moore Fresh Start, and then we did 1 coat of the Benjamin Moore Aura, and the color is Cloud White. On the top here, that covers great. Both the corners and the top look great here. When you come down here to where I only used 1 coat of primer and then 1 coat of the Aura eggshell, it's really hard to tell unless you get close here. You can definitely see like down low against the baseboard, it's gray there, and not really so much in the corners over here, but just I can kind of see some specks of gray here. So a way to eliminate that is just to do another top coat with the Aura eggshell. So that's 3 coats. You did 1 coat of primer and then 2 top coats on the bottom to properly cover. On the top, we did 2 coats of the primer and 1 top coat of the eggshell. So this is 3 coats up here, and this is in reality 2 coats with the 1 primer and the 1 top coat. But if you want this to look 100% right, do another top coat on the bottom here. So again, the tools and the paints that I use for the job is the Benjamin Moore Fresh Start, and I tinted this towards the Cloud White here, and we did 2 coats of this up top to go over the deep red. And I think that this primer alone did a terrific job in covering up that deep base red. Okay. But you still had to do 2 coats though. And then the top coat was the Benjamin Moore Aura in eggshell here, okay? And this is a great paint too, but a lot of times when you're working with the whites, whether it be Cloud White or Simply White, they don't cover that well because it has a yellow undertone. So you definitely want to use a primer first whenever you deal with these, especially when going over the dark colors. And this is the roller that I use. It's a Benjamin Moore Aura, and again, it's a 1/2 inch. Okay, and the brush I use is the Corona Excalibur 1.5 inch Chinex brush here. And again, this is my handy paint pail, and this is great because I can just put the paint in here, and it has a magnet. Okay, so you can just put the brush there, and you can roll from these things too. So that's going to conclude this video series of how to cover up a deep red paint. And again, the red paint that we covered up was the classic Burgundy. Okay, and again, it's whenever you try to cover up or hide that paint, especially if you want to convert the walls from red to white, it's really tough, and you have to use the right types of primers and paints to ensure that, because a lot of the paints or primers that you use aren't going to cover like the ones that I used here for this video here. So I hope that these tips and techniques will help you take care of your own painting needs. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.